A small Minnesota town is getting a lot of attention for a satanic monument coming to a veterans park.
The monument is going up for the Satanic Temple, will be the first satanic monument on public property in U.S. history. The city of Belle Plaine is allowing the monument to be built after a religious freedom group threatened to sue over another statue that features a soldier praying over a grave marked with a cross. Kate Raditz is live at the Veterans Memorial Park in Belle Plaine. And Kate, I understand that this monument has not arrived there yet.
It hasn't yet, Angela, but I did confirm with the city that it is finished. They simply are trying to work out a date with that organization as to when it will come here, and it would have to be put in this small area. As you can see, that is the other monument that you were talking about. This is actually called the Free Speech Zone. It is a dedicated area for 10 or fewer monuments that can go here, and now it will include a satanic monument. An upturned helmet atop a black cube will soon be at the site of the Veterans Memorial Park in Belle Plaine. It's being built by a group of Satanists out of Massachusetts.
Said they were putting it up, and I did not like it.
The controversy started when an organization complained about another monument featuring a religious symbol on public property. The city took it down, but residents protested. The city council voted to have a designated free speech area, restoring the monument and resolving the issue.
I don't think there's too many Satanists around here, but it's free speech.
City Councilman Kerry Coop voted against the designated free speech area. He says he anticipated other groups coming in.
We were warned against creating a free speech zone, and I thought it would probably be just as well that we didn't have one, that people could use private property to say whatever they want.
Donna Karnitz's husband is a veteran of the Vietnam War. She says she finds the new satanic monument offensive.
It was approved a while back already, and it has not come here, and I am hoping and praying that it doesn't come into the park here.
Yeah, and you know, Donna is not alone. I did speak to several residents that said they were upset by this. There's actually a protest that is scheduled for Saturday here in Belle Plaine, and we found out today it's actually also barbecue days this weekend here, which draws people from all over the state here to Belle Plaine. So as you can imagine, could be a very busy and interesting day here on Saturday.
All right, I know we'll keep track of what happens. Thank you, Kate.
It's the latest installment in a battle over free speech at the Belle Plaine Veterans Memorial Park. Dozens of protesters gathered at the site of the proposed sculpture, which would be a black cube with pentagrams and topped with an upturned soldier's helmet. The controversy began in January when the city removed a sculpture from the park of a soldier and a cross. But many residents opposed the city's actions, so the city created a public forum space at the park to display the war memorial once again. Now, an anti-religion group wants to install the satanic monument in the public forum space.
I think everybody who can apply and have a monument built should be able to express their beliefs.
The idea, I mean, obviously, is to ask blessings and ask goodness upon the city of Belle Plaine, and asking Satan to be on your side is not asking for goodness or truth.
On Monday, the Belle Plaine City Council plans to discuss possibly getting rid of the public forum area.
It was a scene with no shortage of symbols beneath the softly waving red, white, and blue signs and statues, all part of a uniquely American debate involving veterans, the Constitution, God, and the devil.
My thoughts are that if you're going to be calling Satan in to be on your side, you're not going to don't expect blessings and goodness. He's always been
what part of the Constitution is that from?
It's not in any part of the Constitution, but neither is freedom of speech either.
But it was freedom of speech that in many ways started this all.
This is what we support. This is what this community supports.
Back in January, the removal of a Christian memorial by the city of Belle Plaine sparking outrage. The city citing complaints it violated constitutional obligations to separate church and state. Then in February came a big change. The Belle Plaine City Council voting to establish a so-called free speech zone where any religion or group can take part.
And it doesn't matter, you know, if you're Jewish, like we said, if you're Jewish, if you're Muslim, if you're American, whatever you are, we're all Americans fighting this war together.
But promises of inclusion were quickly put to the test. The Satanic Temple in Salem, Massachusetts, announcing a plan to install a monument of their own. The black cube with a helmet on top intended to honor veterans who may not be Christian.
I take it you don't believe in God.
Roger. Yeah.
You serve your country.
Yes, sir.
And you want a place down here.
Yes, sir.
Army Reserve Lieutenant Kevin Lindo says he supports any memorial regardless of religion or background. But others at Saturday's gathering believe constitutional protection comes with exceptions.
There is a freedom of speech, but the freedom comes at a price as well. They are free to believe whatever they want to, but they need to do it on their own grounds, not on public ground.
Of the crowd of roughly 200 protesting the Satanic Memorial, some were from out of both city or state. A person's belief sometimes spelled out on a sign, but the facts of the situation often proving elusive.
If they're not allowed to have a Christian monument, they shouldn't be allowed to have any other monument here. That's
They are allowed to, though.
They are allowed to. I guess standing up for what I believe in personally, then, is why I would be here.
And for counter-protesters in support of the Satanic Memorial, belief was just as important, not just in a religion, but in their constitutional right to take part.
All or none.
Yeah.
All or none.
The first joyful mystery is the Annunciation. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
It's an act of bullying. They know this is a very small community, that this community cannot afford to go into a legal fight with them. This is their strategy. And I've already seen the fake news that's been printed saying that the city council didn't put up any fight for it. That's a lie.
I don't know who's speaking for the veterans. I don't know who's speaking for us, the veterans. We have no problem. We fought for this country for everybody.
The fear has been really hard to see, and it's on both sides. They're afraid of us. Frankly, I'm afraid of them, mostly because of the threats I've received from many Christian organizations. I've been receiving threats of rape, of murder, of both. Many people find that cross to be very abrasive. It's a torture device. Anytime you nail a man to a piece of wood, it's torture. And we have to see that torture device everywhere.
It's not a matter of what religion you are. It's not a matter of what your beliefs are. It's the law. That was dedicated as a public forum so that anybody can have a voice there. That's exactly what the Christians wanted. That's word for word what they fought for with the city council. They achieved that. But as soon as it came to other people having a voice, they decided that that wasn't fair and that wasn't right.
Well, a Veterans Park in Belle Plaine City, Minnesota once featured a small Christian monument. That was dangerous and offensive, of course. So there were lawsuit threats, and the city declared the monument's location a free speech zone. But that, in turn, drew the attention of a Satanist group, which wanted to erect a satanic shrine in the park. Now, the city is reversing itself and has decided to remove all religious symbols from the park instead. Lucien Greaves is the co-founder of the Satanic Temple, and he joins us tonight. Lucien, thanks for joining us. I don't know much about Satanism. What are the 5 pillars of Satanism? What is it?
We have 7 tenets, actually, and actually they're irrelevant to our claim to be allowed in the free speech zone.
Well, they're relevant to your claim to be wait, slow down. They're relevant to your claim to be a religion, and so I just give us a sense of what it is.
Actually, us being a religion has no bearing on us having a claim to the free speech zone either.
But you do claim to be a religion. I just want to know what it is. Is it the worship of Satan?
No, we're actually non-theistic, and modern Satanism has been recognized as non-theistic for some time now. There are actually scholars of modern Satanism. There's books about new religion that cover Satanism. But as I said, it really has no bearing on our claim to access to the free speech
I mean, I guess the reason I'm pressing you on this is because I sort of know a fake media story when I see one, and the whole Satanism thing seems like that. And I'm trying to take you seriously because I take religious people seriously, all of them. But this seems like a way to just kind of give the finger to everyone else. I mean, there are probably not a lot of Satanists in this town of 6,600 in Minnesota, are there?
Well, there are some, and there are veterans. There's a good deal of veterans within our ranks. We have about 100,000 members, many veterans, and there are veterans who don't identify with us who still stood up for our right to speak, and we find that very often when we ask for equal access in the open forum. It's usually veterans who come forward and speak in our defense, and they say that these values of free speech and pluralism are the values that they fought for.
Amen, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. Hence your appearance tonight. I think people should have a right to speak, but also they should have to answer questions. And the right to speak and the right to sort of give the finger to the residents of this little town in Minnesota, not exactly.
That was not what we were doing. The monument, no, of course it is not. So if you look at the monument, it's very respectful, it's reverent, it's a very sober, simple monument, really, and it encourages.
A monument to what?
To veterans. This was first and foremost something to honor the veterans who have fought and served. All veterans. Not all veterans are Christian. Not all veterans are Satanist. But they did fight for pluralism and they did fight for free speech. And to that end, it's nice to know that we can preserve those values. When they shut down the open forum, we weren't actually celebrating that. We built this monument. We were ready to install it. We wanted to put it there. And it seemed like the residents of Belle Plaine weren't entirely up in arms about this. Some of the word we got back said people thought our monument design wasn't anything to complain about. The protesters from a Catholic organization, they also were out of state. And we get this stuff about a small town and beating up on a small town, but there's no regional boundaries on free speech.
Really, I don't know, try it in downtown Birmingham, Alabama, or Chicago or something. But I mean, look, here's the point I'm making, is that there's no comparison between Satanism, which is like a silly made-up religion which has no God, even non-theistic as you conceded, and Christianity or Judaism or Islam, which, you agree or disagree, believe or not, but they're millennia old. They run hospitals, churches, schools. They form the basis of our civil society. They don't really compare to what you're doing, do they?
Well, we're getting there. We're a very growing population, and we should defend pluralism and free speech. We can't allow America to divide itself into regional theocracies. Imagine a place like Clearwater, Florida, which is almost entirely colonized by Scientologists. Are they going to shut down the open forum for only veneration of L. Ron Hubbard, or introduce Dianetics as compulsory in their schools? And imagine the civil war that would ensue if Muslims
I agree with your point strongly that people ought to be allowed to express divergent views in public. I just don't want to be sucked into the trap of having to take seriously what is clearly not a serious thing. Do you know what I mean? So it's one thing for me to agree with you and say, yeah, we're both for free speech, but this
if we weren't being serious, I would understand what you're saying. I think if you learn anything about the Satanic Temple, you'll see that we must be serious. We can't have these types of numbers. We have chapters internationally. We're quickly growing.
I don't believe your numbers for a second. And I mean, I don't. What does that even? So like on.
You don't have to.
Well, I don't believe the numbers of any group that comes on that show. I always divide by 10, and that's probably an overstatement for any group, but especially yours. But before we go, just tell us.
Okay, so what if it were 2? So what if it were 2?
The principle would be
we still have equal access to the open forum.
You would have the right to say what you think if it was just you, and I would be willing to defend that right. But again, the point of calling this Satanism is to horrify, like, normal people in the middle of the country. That is exactly the point.
That's not true. No, no, that is not exactly the point.
So what is the point? Just
and
sum
I will
it up for
argue
me.
that point.
I'll give you 30 seconds. What's the point of Satanism?
Well, to sum up a religious movement in its history in 30 seconds isn't quite fair, but I would say that.
Okay.
But I would say that Satanism embodies Enlightenment values. It is emblematic of the ultimate rebellion against tyranny. To that end, we look at the history of the crushing of the church and the rise of Enlightenment values and the rise of pluralism and diversity and multiculturalism as inherently satanic.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is you're taking a Christian symbol, Satan, and using it against Christians. I mean, that's kind of the point, because you could have chosen sort of anything to name this group, since it's basically new, and you didn't. You chose the one thing that Christians hate the most. So again, it's
Because
by its
Satanism
nature.
means something to us. It's not an arbitrary label.
Right. I wish you were more
think you could
straightforward
really
with
get
that.
into it.
Yeah, probably not. Lucien, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you.